We're recording this for anyone who wasn't here and needs to watch it, and I'll send the link out to everybody afterwards. I just recording it to the cloud. So,
Okay.
Frank was supposed to be here, but he's delayed. I guess he's in the middle of a class right now. He's updating some of his insurance licensing. So,
and I just want to be clear here on record that this may never be used as a public document or shared publicly. So it would be only for your executive team or people under our NDA, which Alan is.
absolutely.
Right. Got it.
I turned off Daryl since he's not on camera. So, so thanks for meeting with us. I know we've been going back and forth through email, and it's hard to communicate very well through email sometimes, especially even when they're long. There's just a lot going on, and then it's difficult to share the intent and
Is
the
Kevin going to be on?
so forth.
Patrick, is Kevin going to be on?
He's been invited.
He was invited. He's the one who said who told me to set it up. So,
Right. I know. That's what I said. I mean, everybody, you got to join.
I'll shoot him an email as well or a text and see if he wants to jump on.
Okay.
So tell me, if you would, Bill, your goal for this meeting. Our biggest intent is to make sure we're all on the same page as far as moving forward. Main thing we want is the new intake form and the new onboarding process and so forth. We've tried to discuss a little bit of the compensation and a little bit of the understandings there, but regardless of wherever that ends up or however we agree or don't, or agree to disagree, we need to know what to do next. We need to know how to move forward, because we do have deals in the pipeline, and we've made a lot of commitments to people of what can be delivered. And so it's been my biggest concern through all of it is reputational risk and commitments that we've made, and making sure that we can deliver on those, especially with regards to John and Tony and everything they can bring. They're by far the two, I don't want to say most valuable, but they're definitely the two on our team that have expressed the most interest. Between the two of them, we can bring a great deal of business. We've been holding off to a large extent, as you know, as we've been waiting to be trained, as we've been figuring out the NDA process and laying the groundwork for this coming year. We've put some feelers out. We've started lining up resellers. We've had at least one training meeting with Kevin, one introductory meeting with you, Bill, where we talked about expectations, and then a training overview, kind of a 10,000-foot view overview with you and Kevin. But for the most part, our team is focused on other projects and waiting for this to be ready. We've even had meetings that we had scheduled tentatively with people here in Vegas and others, and we're told we're not ready to present yet. We've heard that on more than one occasion. And so that's our biggest request. I know Alan and I and Frank, we have questions on the compensation and what to do about commitments we've already made to people, but that's one concern or one question. But even more important, I think, or equally important, is what do we need to do to get started, right? What do we need to do to start rolling this out officially and lining up the prospects? So that's my objective. Alan, anything you want to add to that? You can, I know you've got your thoughts, and then Bill and Ron and Daryl, thanks for being here. We're excited about Sterile Safe. We've been a little thrown off with recent communications because we thought we were all on the same page, especially with regards to Alan and his agreement with you, which we're operating under. So we do need to clarify and understand that. I know he needs to. last thing we want to do is cut him out or cut anyone out that's been committed to this.
Could I just establish something before my opening statement, and then we'll hear from Alan next in your agenda?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Just please strike that expression of cutting people out, because that's never been entertained. So I don't want to have that go on the record anywhere that was ever, it's never been proposed. So continue to say that, as we've made clear in email after email after email after email, and they're in entirety, it's never been on the table. So I'm prepared to make opening statements, but you've thrown it to Alan next.
Well,
Okay.
I always like to hear what you have to say first, Bill, and then, you know.
I'm happy to, Alan. I'm happy to, Alan. I'm a guest on this network as S3 representative. So I was following Patrick's lead and just respecting that.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, Bill? We can let Alan comment later. That's
sure.
Fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. I want to say that the level of commitment that S3 has shown to this has been exemplary. And I know you spent the vast majority of your time with Kevin, and, trying to, hone things out and meet folks and have meetings and toss ideas around, and texts and emails and phone calls and face-to-face meetings. And in October of 2023, we picked up the baton. Kevin is full-time with Boeing. And so the three officers of the company are right here before you. So we do speak 100% for this in the essence of this conversation moving forward. We have had many machinations of ideas presented to us. There's been many workflow ideas. There's been many different contact leads, ideas. We've pursued many things. We've, as I've said, spent thousands of hours, which is not an understatement nor an exaggeration, building presentations, making phone calls, doing emails, face-to-face, text, the like. And so that's what we want to show, is the commitment to, the belief in what certainty can provide, per se. And Alan brought us the lead. Alan is the contact resource for you all to us. And that was only ever been maintained, as there is only that in construct. So there is no other workaround. I'm not sure what anybody else said. I only know what I've said. I know what Ron said. I know what Daryl said. Empirically, I know what you've written, and I know what I've written because I've read every word. So many of the things that you talk about are either misunderstandings or false facts, but I've tried to clear them up, and you've tried to clear them up, and we've gone back and forth on the idea with emails at length it's beyond ad nauseum. I've never written emails that long in my entire life. I've never read emails that long in my entire life. So we replied in kind, and wanting to work with certainty has been clear. It's been obvious. It's been ongoing. You, Frank, all of your members have done all of this without solid agreements in place. There's been a lot of working ideas, and the ideas kept hybriding and hybriding and hybriding. We never had any sights on building this out into a multi-tiered payout opportunity. Alan referred you guys, and we tried to make it work with different ideas that I understand from Kevin, and that had never been formalized. But again, we don't want to have a multi-tiered payout, nor do your people. As John Santoyo said, I don't want to do anything where somebody's being paid like certainty, where someone's being paid like Alan Lowe, someone's being paid like Francis Parker. And we can't change how Alan Lowe introduced us to you, and you introduced us to John Santoyo. This is just an example. So what we've done in the last couple of ideas that we've thrown out to you, the first idea that we threw out to you is we would just pay certainty that 15%, and you would pay Alan and you would pay John because you're an institution, you're a business, you already have that relationship with your people. And so it wouldn't be dissimilar. Before that, we threw it out to Alan, and I had spoke to Alan in great length over a couple weeks period about how this thing was changing. And we had sent him several communiques, and I'd called him several times, and he called me, and we were talking about that. So I had said, let's just pay Alan Lowe, because Francis Parker brought in Alan Lowe, and that's as far as it was ever going to go. And Alan Lowe was meant to recruit end businesses, and it turns out he recruited businesses that recruited businesses that recruited businesses. So it just got complicated in its construct. But what we thought is, let's pay Alan Lowe the percentage and let Alan pay you, since you already had other business deals where you were doing that with his V card or other such things. It wasn't dissimilar to the way you were conducting business with him, because you were working with him already doing the same in kind exactly. And you came back and said, John Santoyo doesn't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So we said, okay, well, let's take another example. And in this example, we would say, let's pay the certainty group, and the certainty group could remunerate whoever. And we used a working example of Alan Lowe would get paid, John Santoyo would get paid, and certainty would get paid. When we look at the scope of the type of numbers utilized in the type of brand, product, and service we provide, the numbers, as you know, can get quite large. I think that's why it's so attractive. It's not like a supplement. It's not like a small consulting referral contract. It's not like just some ancillary hobby project or lifestyle project. It's pretty significant play. And in the time that we'd spent with you and the other companies, organizations, and people in the 4 years since March 3rd of 2020 that we've been doing business, we realized that there's a very specific clientele, there's a very specific message, and there's a very specific methodology that we believe is how you'd acquire a client. And that's why this 3-page intake sheet that we created was so important. We gleaned the knowledge some from, we now have 17 new industry standard people. We have a professional recruiter that joined our organization who's been in recruiting for 30 years in specialty occupation, now brought in all these people. And so we polled those people, times that we'd learned with your organizations and other organizations, and we realized unless we get these questions answered, we're just literally doing a cold call. I mean, yes, we might be meeting somebody at X company, but they don't know what we do. They don't have a project. They don't have a budget. They don't have a timeline. They don't really know what we do. Somebody told them something, and here we are in a meeting. Well, we have to make presentations that have a beginning, middle, and an end. And when we don't know what the beginning is, we have to have a generic presentation. So we do meetings with somebody from somewhere, and they'd say, your presentation's too long. Well, we don't know what you're interested in. We do them with other people. Your presentation's too short. We don't know what you're interested in. Your presentation was real good, but we don't have line items for that budgetary use. That's fine. What has happened in time is the pandemic has happened, and the new administration's goals for net zero decarbonization objectives have happened, both simultaneously. So society as a whole has changed. The pandemic changed the whole world, and the new methodology for global decarbonization and global, net zero energy reduction has happened simultaneous. Well, the only given in the universe is change, and what don't people like is change. So what S3, Sterile Safe Solutions, does is addresses these two big categories where there's so much change that are impacting businesses. We're saying today, your building is our business, and your business is your business. Let us help you. And we're able to do that in a way with HVAC and building mechanics today, which we have not found another company to take the model that we're utilizing in its solution orientation and put it out there as one brand, product, and service. And so that's where the unique side is. And so, yes, we've forged a new industry, or what we're calling a micro niche industry within a juggernaut industry. But the truth is, the people that have been looking at what we're doing all say that we may have changed the industry. And so that's what we're looking at. That's why the 3-page intake sheet is so important and so informative to how we would shape a lead, that you really need to see that. And I'm not holding off giving you that. We just wanted to make sure that our companies were aligned after the year plus 2 years we've been doing it together. I'd actually have to ask Kevin Winbourn how long it's been, or when Alan first made the lead to certainty group. I don't actually know that first date. I just know that with John Santoyo, it's just about a year. So I think you guys are about 18 months or something like that. But in doing so, we have never showed anything but 100% committed. We have never done anything but done 100% of the work. We'd never done anything but pursued every single lead without question, which has taken up the enormous, hello, Frank, enormous amounts of time that it's taken, and for which that's the commitment that we show. And that's the commitment we've displayed. And that's the commitment we continue with. Now, in doing so, the idea of what can be extended for a simple referral got lost, and it's way out in the weeds, way out in the weeds. So we've pulled that referral compensation back to 15% total. We've looked at how we take leads, and with our 3-page sheet, we'd be able to see if it looks like a good direction to go into. We'd pursue it, and we'd tell you at that point, yes, it looks like a good direction. Let's continue forward pursuing that goal. And if it doesn't, we'd tell you right then, it's not enough data, go back and see if they can answer any more of these questions. So it's pretty simple with the use of time, because the way we did it before, it used hundreds and hundreds of hours to coordinate a meeting and build presentations and have meetings, and then go on and on and on and on with meetings before we really knew there was a client. There was an idea of a client, which is kind of like cold calling, but cold calling, really is something we could do if we just wanted to call hospitals or universities or malls or airports or, commercial buildings. In the case of Jamie, where his building has skyscrapers in 42 states, we really believed in that, and we committed a lot of time, initially months, dealing with Jamie quite frequently. And then he just went away. He didn't even reply to Kevin in text or email or in phone calls. And we thought, we don't know what happened. Maybe he got fired, maybe he left the organization, whatever. But it really benefited and benefits the commercial real estate market. And I say that because every one of these things you guys are referring to, we believed in wholeheartedly and pursued wholeheartedly with all of our resources, and still do. Frankly, the commercial real estate market could take down the entire US economy. So that has to be resurrected. And we have a way to dramatically reduce costs of a building, make safe occupation that people can see, and understand how people can operate their buildings much more efficiency, locally, nationally, and globally. And so, if we look at all this in its sequence, we just really need to ask you, what is it that you need from us more than what we've offered? Because a simple referral doesn't, warrant 40, 50, 60, 70% of our company. Already we have professional organizations that are coming on board where there's not a single person in our lead portfolio that doesn't have 20 years experience in this industry, and portfolios in the 20 to $50 million. So, they're getting half of that. Half of that. So the time commitment that we could spend with people in the industry for leads from people that sell in this industry to clients in this industry is already half of what we're extending you at 15%.
I guess when you're done, I'll talk.
I wanted to cover a lot there because there's a lot of bases, Alan.
Yeah. Okay. I think the best thing that you have done, because everything has been a work in progress since the beginning on your end and our end, because you guys were just starting up. And I think the best thing you did do is come up with a 3-page solution so that you could actually go in that. So not only have you spent tireless hours, I mean, you might think I just introduced the call. I talk to Patrick and Frank at least 3, 4, 5 times a week. So I'm always in the loop, but I don't like to put too many people in the soup because it gets messy. So if you're dealing with these people, Jamie direct, that's fine with me. He's part of my team of doing that. You know, I knew you only had a few officers. I guess you had a new person into your corporation because it wasn't there in the beginning, was it?
Are you talking to us?
Yeah, yeah, I'm talking to you.
Ron is in Pennsylvania, Daryl is in Scottsdale, and I'm in Los Angeles.
And then there was Kevin, right?
Kevin's in Long Beach, California.
Yeah, you never really talked to us about Ron, not me, but I talked to Kevin, you and Daryl. I knew we were on the phone a lot. But
everything that's drafted, everything in the company goes through Ron. Every document produced, he's a part of every conversation. He's on bi-weekly meetings. He's in daily meetings. He's a part of the company. He's our legal counsel, and he and I have known each other and worked together for about 20 plus years. And virtually everybody I've ever talked about, I didn't have a big relationship with you in the beginning. Kevin did, but Ron is a party to every conversation that goes on, much like you're saying, your daily, weekly connection with Frank and Patrick. That's how much Ron is. So I'm not sure why you hadn't. Nothing could have been produced that you've ever received or heard about unless Ron did it. So every aspect of every deal is legally constructed by Ron. So every detail is presented to Ron in its entirety.
So every contract that I have signed, that you signed, and I've had notarized, even when we put together the side agreement with Frank and them, and we put a side agreement with Art, that I've had signed and notarized, and everything was done by your attorney, because I had to wait for your attorney to okay it, because Kevin took it, worked with it, came back, and you guys agreed to this. So I have all documents and everything, and, you know, I do everything with my accountants and attorneys. So, you know, I'm just saying, if you want to change up, we do have a 30-day clause. Believe me, I haven't even started bringing you hospitals and everything else, because I know you guys have been a work in progress. And I'm really happy you did come out with a 3-page thing, because now I can go to one of my contacts and say, I want this filled out. We aren't proceeding before. So we've all been through a work in progress to right now. What I don't want to do is cut the commission, because I pay 33% and large commissions in my business. Believe it or not, we all know as CEOs and owners of companies, the highest paid people in the corporations are the salespeople. That's why people like to be 1099s, because without their contacts in their business, no one makes any profits. So, you know, I have all these signed agreements. If you do want to change them, you have the right to cancel my contract with me anytime, which I don't want you to do, but I have the right, you do too, but you have to honor what we already have in the pipeline, which we've agreed on. That's all I'm saying. And I wish you would keep it at the 25%, because I have a lot of people with hospitals and stuff, and my friend owns 9,000 properties down here. So I just think you got to rethink that.
I'm going to just stop you for a second, because I want to say this. Ron put an example together that said a simple referral, given the percentage, was X. You'd get 75,000, the other person would get 75,000, and the principal would get 300,000 off a simple referral. So I don't think that your numbers are anywhere near what you're doing, and you have a digital asset without inventory, and you kind of have an online subscription thing that kind of goes out to things. So the disparate numbers that you're using are for 2 different industries that aren't even relevant. They're not even relevant at all. We did send you a letter where we rescinded the offer. I do want to make this clear that there has never been a proposal made for any offer to anybody although there's been thousands of hours put into trying to help get something across the line, which we've done in good faith as well. We haven't taken that back. We haven't made that lesser. We know that's the kind of time it takes for big clients. This is a very big industry. It's a slow industry, so the client dollars are a lot more. They're so disparately different. There's no example I think you could give me where they'd be similar. So I don't know that's true, but I don't think that we're being unfair if you use the example, of in that referral tier that you're talking about, that let's just say the example I think Ron used was John Santoyo in the percentage that Ron used would get 300,000, Certainty Group would get 75,000, and Alan Lowe would get 75,000 off a simple referral off kind of a small client. It was a very small example. So if there's this kind of deal flow, which Patrick presented to me in one email, of hundreds of millions and billions, the dollars to each one of you would be 8 figures. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much you need to make to be profitable. I guess if you need more than that, we're not barking up the right tree or in the same bush, but getting greedy with the fact of how much money we could make. We used incentives and inducements like any other business. You've worked in hundreds of sales companies, your own in addition to, where you have a monthly special where you sell something, and if you sell it, you'll increase the commissions. I know you do, so don't correct me. Okay, it's the same in a grocery store. It's the same in a department store. It's the same in a car lot. It's the same in anything. There's sales that go on. There's incentives that goes on. People go down to bullpens in their sales communities and they say, okay, this month, if you move a certain amount of ticket, there's going to be bonuses placed. We were very, very lucrative early on to try and get some sales going, to try and get some proposals going, to try and get some clients going. That never manifested, not a nary one, not a one of one, but that didn't mean that we gave any less. So the three-page intake sheet was taken so that we could all get to those goals quicker. The advantage for Certainty Group as a referral to you is they've got multiple members. So Patrick isn't out there working the streets, and Frank isn't.
Well, if you look at the agreements that you guys put together with me, my agreement with Patrick and them, and you put the agreement together, was I get 25% and I'm going to give them 20% to divide up with their people. That's up to them. So, and you put the document together, and it went back and forth 2 or 3 times with Kevin and your attorney. So until I could get these documents signed with 2 people. So, and I do like what he did put in here in this agreement. It said, oh yeah, the 15% totaling 4,500,000 to John Santorio and everything. So that's a misprint, because I wouldn't want to hold you out to that much amount on the deal that he was doing for 13 million $13 million. So it was overpaid. So, but all I'm just saying is I can't wait to get the 3-page agreement so I can start working with these clients direct, because I think we would all agree, listen, I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm talking to everybody here on the call. We've all worked tireless hours with no income. And I'll tell you what, I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. I totally agree with you. So when you start businesses in the beginning, now you guys have fine-tuned it. I am very grateful that you did, because you come up with a tool that is going to maximize our time so that we can be productive of what we're doing.
Let me stop.
Client doesn't fill out the form. There's no sense of working with it.
Alan, pardon me. Daryl has to go.
Okay.
He only had 30 minutes, so I'm just going to release Daryl so y'all don't think it's rude.
Hey, Daryl, say hi.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Daryl. You're the greatest. So.
Daryl's family's in town from Hawaii, his wife's family, for 10 days.
Oh, okay.
So he's been up since 3 o'clock in the morning working, so they just went out to have a dinner there in Scottsdale. So thank you, Daryl.
And
All right. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
enjoy, go to Camel Black. But they got a lot of really nice places out there. I think I've been to Scottsdale about 25 or 30 times. I worked with a company out there.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, the point of all of this, guys, and I want to just say we're committed. The hours and hours and hours I've dedicated for the last several months, you know, understanding what's going on, getting back and forth, writing the emails, making the phone calls, doing the due diligence, trying to understand, you know, because the baton got handed to me to understand fully. Kevin had led the charge. Is how can we make it a win-win for everybody, and putting into, you know, realistic terms. I'm not sure that number you just referred to, Alan, if it is a typo, and you
Yeah, it's a typo error. I'm just bringing it up.
and you recognize it's a typo because you're
It's a typo.
you're
Yeah,
fair
because the
business
numbers don't add up.
because you're a fair businessman. Then
Right.
I'll just say to you that any relationship has got to be mutual. That
I like win-win-win solutions.
yeah. I mean, so anything that we do has got to be mutual, and the
Yeah.
business has got to be mutual. Otherwise, there's no point getting into business with a group of folk unless it is mutual.
Life
So
is too short, and I think we just
the point
put some deals on the books.
yeah, the point of Certainty Group and the advantage to a company like Certainty Group is, you know, they have multiple people, multiple relationships, multiple support staff to support their performance-based referral staff, and they're used to that. So that's a clear advantage to them. They have a business that's set up to work with that. So that kind of thing, if we're looking at Tony Salazar, you know, Patrick, those chillers, let's just say hypothetically, are in the $2.5 to $5 million each. The labor to install those by average is 2 times. That's what an MEP firm, you know, for the engineering and the installation would be about double the figure. That's how they standardize it in the industry. So you're looking at 20 million, probably realistically. There were some other components that Tony Salazar was talking about with John Santoyo, you know, with the project in the Philippines. He said it was a $3 billion project, but Daryl spent several months working on the contract. And in that contract, it called out. And so the only companies that are UNESCO status would be like Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Daikin, Trained. They're the only ones that could even get those contracts for the government. The piecemeal part at the bottom of their contract is when those companies want a part or a service serviced, so you can pick up the local work. Now, yeah, that might be $50 to $100 million, if you will, but you still have to be UNESCO rated, which we found an UNESCO company that would underwrite that group out there, and they never replied to them. They never even got the NDA back to them. And we pursued them and worked for months getting them an UNESCO, which they can't do any work unless they're UNESCO. And it's 2 guys in the Philippines in one house and some guy named Mark and a financial group in New York. Could have been a big project. But then if we go to, you know, Microsoft, we did speak to the 3 principals of the $1 billion climate fund. We spoke to them. They're nice people. We had a very nice meeting. We took weeks to prepare the meeting, even though we didn't know what the agenda, what they would want to hear. So we presented, you know, with exhaustive research on what their objectives were as a division, handing out that $1 billion fund. We built a presentation, which they liked, but they said isn't applicable. They said if they could, they'd try and help us refer us somewhere to Microsoft, but basically no bidded any further idea of working with us. They had no way to work with us. John Santoya, every time I've ever talked to him, which has been quite a few times, not nearly what Kevin has spent a year with him. The Indian tribes were supposed to come up, never a single client, never a single contact, never a single person. We met John's guy who used to be the deputy mayor of Los Angeles, which we're currently talking to the 2 deputy mayors of Los Angeles. I met at a symposium speaking. We met them and we've been presenting to them. But the guy, Kevin, who he knows, who used to be the deputy mayor, was going to introduce us to the Speaker of the House of California, of which there's great benefit in that. If we got into the Speaker of the House of California, who could get us to Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom has a $48 billion budget to make every state building in California LEED gold. So these are the kind of things we've talked about. It's not that we haven't put an enormous amount of energy into this. We've been shooting for whales and going after whales, and every one of them are whales, but we've never talked to a client. We've never talked to a representative from a business, ever. That it's people who know people who know people who know people. So past Alan would be 3, 4, 5 people before we even start getting to the client. And we've never gotten to the client ever, whoever represented the project it may be. It's a person who knows the client. In the case of the hospital in Virginia, it's Daryl Long's neighbor across the alley works at that hospital. We've never gotten to the client. But
you
his neighbor,
that can write the check, and
his neighbor, my point is, his neighbor across the alley is the guy that works there. That's fine. I'm an entrepreneur. I'll spend thousands of hours pursuing that. We met another hospital client who's our client from a guy who I know and Ron's worked with for 30 years. I've worked with 20 years. We made one phone call to the guy and we're clients with them. So it's not that that doesn't work. Of course that works if the right presentation's there. That's why this 3-page intake sheet is so beneficial, because you have to get very little information to them. And if it comes back filled out properly, by and large, if they fill this out properly, you got a client. So we know, like just at a glance at the 3 pages after it's filled out. That's the advantage. So let me just carry on for another second, Alan.
Okay.
If indeed we all determine that there's enough in this to be lucrative per se, for us to be able to make good monies for our companies. I mean, I think the one use that Ron used was a small example from a small hospital with a fairly reasonably small number, that everybody was going to make a lot of money off a simple referral. And so I would tell you, go to Bridgeway and look at what they do. Their company is similar to ours, and they have a 2% referral for a simple referral. The people that work at Johnson Controls, arguably the largest client company in this industry that we're in, gives 1% to their sales commission people, which they pay a very low base salary. Their low base salary is still pretty high, higher than most. But, so talking about these kind of numbers are unreasonable. There isn't anybody that's extending this out. Nowhere, because they don't even do referrals in this industry. If you call the manufacturers, say you want to sell their product, they won't even sell it to you. They don't care. It's a closed loop industry. The mechanical engineers, the architects, the general contractors, and the HVAC companies do their own business with the manufacturers. That's it. Yep. There's no other thing. We've partnered with a very, very large specialty engineering firm with 4,400 engineers all over the globe, which is a huge advantage for our reach. They love what we're doing. We're working with them directly, and they're even providing leads to some of their clients now because of what they know we can do. And our approach is very unique. I say that because they're a very large company and they think what we're doing is revolutionary and can change the industry. And that's true with everybody we come in contact with, even the MEP firms and HVAC firms and general contractors and architects. And it's true, but we have to get down the percentage that we're talking about to a realistic number so it can be utilized. But the dollars at hand here aren't like a V card. They're just not a V card. There's no asset volume inventory of cost in a V card. It's virtual for what it is virtual.
I'm not comparing it to V card.
Okay, but I'm just saying in contrast, you want to use an absurd statement, I'll use one. Okay. We both used absurd.
All I'm just saying is signing your contracts that you agreed to do. That's all.
Yeah, hey, Bill, I'd like to throw 2 cents in here, if I may.
If you excuse me, please. I'm Ron. So Alan's right. There were contracts that went back and forth for him and an MOU with Frank and Alan. The situation is, though, that the original contract was October of 22. The second one, the amended one, was May of 23. Okay. So this is March of 24. Between October of 22, May of May of 23 and March of 24, not a single dollar has been earned by anybody, including Certainty, including Allen, including S3, which is supposed to be the referral, which is where the referrals go. So S3 would have the client, the customer, make the money, and then distribute the commissions. So from October of 22 to March of 24, zero.
I appreciate that, Ron. I can understand you saying that. Patrick and I have been at this exactly the amount of time you stated, except that's not accurate because it took us months to get that agreement that I ratified. Okay, that's number one.
Well,
Number
it was
two-
May, excuse me, it was May of 23.
Okay, I understand that, but what I'm
This is
telling you
March
is,
of 24.
right, we were on board with you way before that. Okay,
Well, you may have been on
The other-
board, but there
the
was
other
no
aspect,
agreement.
well, good faith. Okay, the other aspect is, I understand sales, Bill. I've been in 55 years. When I was an MGA in the insurance business, I lived off 10 basis points of a massive organization that I was handing out 80 and 90% contracts to. Now that's the insurance game and not you. But what you're talking about here is enterprise level, capital markets, equity. I get it. I've been in that realm. I know what referral fees are. But there was a distinguishing thing that happened in John Santoyo's office when you and I and Kevin met. Do you recall?
I'm not
Well,
sure.
that
if you
I
referred
didn't
to.
meet you.
When we met in John Santoyo's office, when
No,
we
not-
first talked about bringing John into the game.
Okay,
And
I
the
was not
subject-
ever in John Santoyo's office.
No, you were not, Ron. I'm not saying you were. I'm saying
Oh,
Bill,
all right.
I'm saying officers of Sterile Safe were in the presence of myself and John. In fact, Bill, if you'll recall, you got so excited about Ascension Health, you got up on the whiteboard and crafted out $2.5 billion for one aspect of your three offerings. Do you recall that, Bill?
No. I do remember doing an illustration on the boardroom, but I don't remember what the numbers were.
We were sitting,
I don't think I've ever used 2 billion as an example.
no, you only used the building because John mentioned Ascension Health. And you did a quick read on basically what it would boil down to as far as one of your solutions. Setting that aside,
I don't recall that, but by the way, I don't think I've ever said $2 billion for a hospital.
the
as
whole
a referral.
purpose, well, Ascension's pretty big, Bill.
Well, so are all the companies we're talking
Okay, so
about.
whatever it was,
Okay, Ron, patience, okay? I'm getting to a point.
I'm trying to, good,
I'm getting to a point.
all right.
I'm not an attorney. I was pre-law, but I'm not an attorney, okay? Bill,
Well, okay,
in that meeting, the main purpose of that meeting was to introduce you to John Santoyo. Do you remember that? That was why you guys came there.
I was told by Kevin to show up to a meeting in Orange County, so I didn't even know who I was meeting at that meeting at his offices there in Fashion Island. The first time we all met in the boardroom.
Correct.
I thought I was meeting with Certainty and there was John in there who became a member.
No. Kevin knew exactly what that meeting was about. The meeting was about the fact we were
But
introducing.
I'm saying, Frank, I don't know what you're talking about. 'cause
We
you're
were
asking-
introduced. Well, you were there, Bill. You're going to deny you
you're-
were there?
You're
But you-
asking me to recall a fact that isn't a fact to me. It may be to you, but it wasn't to me.
Bill, I have a real
Very-
good
it's
memory,
very-
like
it
an
was- it
elephant.
It
You
was
physically got out of your chair. There was you remember the whiteboard, oddly enough?
I wrote on John's whiteboard when I was there 2 months ago.
Exactly. You penned out $2.5 billion on the board. And we all got excited about it because we penned the contract that we were going to offer John at 15%, because at that stage of the game, we weren't at 20%, Bill. We were at 16 with Allen. John wanted a 15 contract. The reason why he wanted a 15 contract is because most of the leads, most of the relationships he has, Bill, he's got middlemen that are going to have to be paid. You're talking about the Philippine deal, the guys out there, those are guys who are middlemen, they would have to be paid. The other stuff he's got sitting in the wings, pretty much all of them are going to have to be paid. So you agreed at that particular meeting to go back to Alan and negotiate points to move us from 16 to 20. Do you recall that?
No, but
Well, you did. Well, you did. That's where the 20% came from.
but I don't think that's uncommon. What's your point, though?
The point is, Bill, that 20%.
Let me ask you a question, Frank. Have you read any of the email correspondence going on?
Yeah, I read it all, Bill, but I'm
Okay.
telling you right now, that 20%.
What's your point here?
You as corporate officers agreed to it. Not only did you agree to it, you turned around and took legal means to put a document together to have it done.
You also said that you'd represent a client, which you never have.
Excuse me, Bill, let's go back to square one. What was your definition of a prospect?
No, you represented that you'd bring in clients.
No. Your definition of a prospect.
What's your definition of a project?
No, not project, Bill. Prospect.
What's
your definition of a prospect up until this meeting?
Prospects. Nobody gets paid on prospects. Read everything we've ever read.
Bill, I understand that. We're not talking about that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Up until this meeting, your definition of your marketing slant that you portrayed to us and we accepted, you wanted a prospect at the stage of, I want to know more, and we stepped out of the way and you came in and we were on to our next prospect. That's a fact, and everybody remembers it.
What's the point of fact, Frank? I don't get what your point is.
Bill.
You're not making a point, Frank. Nobody gets paid for a prospect.
Let me summarize if I can.
Yeah, do try.
Our understanding from the beginning, Bill, and I'm excited as Alan is about this 3-page intake form.
I am too, but I just want to say that I just want to say something. Let me stop you for a second, Patrick, because I believe that we have always worked in good faith. I've only ever worked in good faith. I've never done anything but honest, and I've always made good business deals. What Frank is talking about now is going down a path that is tearing that apart.
I'm talking about relationship, Bill. That's what I'm talking about.
Relationships. I don't need your bravado, Frank. Don't peacock around here, okay? This isn't going to have any conversation. You peacocking around is going to just destroy it because we're not going to put up with it anymore. We've showed our commitment. If you want to come play your bravado with us, go play it somewhere else. Honestly,
Bill, you have cut out.
Out of respect, Frank. Out of respect. I don't need that, okay? I don't need that from you or fucking anybody.
You have cut us out of John Santoyo. Yes, you have. John's not going to work for 10%, Bill.
Okay, stop for a second. We have not cut you out. We've given you an example how John could make one simple, what would be small in your implication of a referral. You're talking about John's referrals being in the hundreds of millions or billions. We used one for 13 million where he made 300,000 for a simple referral. Not one of them are contacts to him. They're he who knows somebody else, who knows somebody who knows a client. If you can't pay somebody 300,000 for a simple referral, I don't know what you're trying to do, but we have means that we can do this far less effort, Frank. And so you're barking up the wrong tree, and barking at me, I don't respect. So either stop or let's adjourn this meeting because you can't control yourself.
Let me summarize. I know where you're going, Frank. And
Patrick, let me just say something here.
Just don't strong arm me, okay? Ever.
Here,
I don't give a shit.
Oh wait,
really don't.
No one else is talking. I'm just gonna talk here. No one gets paid for referrals. We get paid to do a deal that gets them, and we have to divvy up it to people that earned it to get us to that point. I mean, so I don't like using those words either.
Which words? Could you just be clear when you say you don't like using which words?
Well, I mean, you don't get paid on referrals. You get paid on closing a deal.
You don't get paid on referral. Nobody does. That's why there's not been $1 made. There's not been one proposal made. We've never been introduced to a client in any form. So the whole thing is built on referrals. Okay, then the contract says nobody gets paid on referrals. Nobody's ever been told that. Let me just finish. Let me finish this statement. Alan, let me finish this statement.
Okay.
Nobody gets paid on referrals. We don't have that type of business. But what I'd like to do, because Patrick, I love his delivery. He's very calm. Yeah. I don't have a problem with Frank. I quite like Frank. I've had many meetings with Frank. Frank's come to our speaking events. We've met in person. He's a very nice man. He's worked up today. We're all cool. Frank, you're cool, I'm cool. I'm just saying respect isn't something I'm ever going to allow to be disrespected, okay? So let's just be cool, because we aren't bringing a small amount of money to the table for efforts earned here. Simple referrals, receive, if they become clients, large sums of money. So we aren't pursuing small deals. We're shooting for whales. And Patrick knows that, you know that, you've seen the dollars on the line. Patrick's made it clear, in the volume of people that certainty can bring, it can be in the hundreds of millions, it can be in the billions. I don't believe that's not a true statement. I believe that's a true statement. But we have to go get them. We have to get to them. John Santoy, I'll give you an example, wants to introduce us to 2 airlines. That could easily be in that category. I don't know. I'm just saying these are his leads, what he says. With the Indian nation across America, that could be. With these different things he's talking about, that could be. We know bidded the thing in the Philippines. There's nothing there. We spent months and months and months pursuing those people, even trying to help them, to the point if we went any further, we would be doing their job, building their business, and paying ourselves for building their business. That's how much commitment we had. But we don't have any more time to do that. If they have a business, Daryl met with them 6 months ago in the Philippines, and they said they have this and they have this and they have this and they have this. And further discovery over 6 months, they don't have one thing they represented they had. They don't have one qualification metric they had. So that's frustrating for us. Now, Patrick, I want to throw it to you because I believe that you are going on to a riff.
I just want to summarize a few thoughts. You touched on several points, and I know where Frank was headed, and maybe I can just summarize. We entered this whole relationship very optimistically because we like you guys. We really hit it off with Kevin. We thought, you've got the passion, he has the commitment, Daryl. And then when we met Daryl, he has the expertise to really pull this off. And we feel like you were a really good team that we'd be happy to work with. We were operating under an understanding that Alan had a 25% net agreement, 25% of the net, 30% profit, right? And so when you met with Frank, or when you met with John and Frank was there representing certainty. John is an extension of us. Kevin was there. He would attest to this, but the conversation, we were at that point only at 16%. I believe Alan was at 20 originally. And he went back.
It was always at 25.
Okay, well, regardless, we were at 16, and we asked for an increase to 20 so we could pay John 15 and still make 5%. And during that conversation, there was actually the statement that, like, these are partnership level percentages. We're not going to pay this in the future. This isn't something future salespeople will participate in this at this level. And we understood that. We appreciated that. We felt like it was generous. We felt like you were laying all your cards on the table and being very transparent with us.
We
now,
were.
Just so you know, I mean, and we really appreciated that. You know, we were, just so you know a little bit about my background, I've worked in multi-million-dollar deals. I've worked in real estate development. We developed high-end condo properties all over the country and resort locales like Aspen and Bend, Oregon, and Coeur d'Alene, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I've worked in finance for many, many years. I mean,
I think you guys are marvelous. I think what you've done, and the people that we've met, Daryl Long is exceptional. Jill is really exceptional. I quite like her a lot. John Santoya, we've developed a friendship with. He's a very nice man. Tony, I never met, but I've been on several phone calls and quite a few Zooms. Kevin went out to a church event in Vegas and was able to get a lunch with him and said he liked him very much. It's certainly, you know, having the trash, refuge, and recycling business for that area for quite a few casinos and hospitals and the General Assembly or whatever it's called, that's all potential good stuff. We want to pursue all that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that as we've gone in this length of time, nearly 2 years, we would have liked to initially, and I think much of the early inducements and much of the early incentives were to get something on the books. We know that there is a great value in that initially. Now, from a sustainability perspective, as we get up to more speed, and we're really entertaining some very large stuff right now and moving up with our one big hospital client, You know, we don't have the time to go roughneck around with all this stuff. So we have to make sure that we have all the pieces in place. We have the time management tools in place. We have the way to support organizations like yours. And that 3-page sheet allows us to do that. Let's just say Alan Lowe, which I told him 2 weeks ago before I got sick, that he would get 15%. He's talking about a hospital network in Florida, 48 locations and sha-la-la-la-la, you know, municipalities he's connected to and this and that and the other thing. That's fine. And if he refers it down to certainty group, we want to keep the same thing. 15% is what we're handing out now, flat. That is flat across the board. Everybody's been brought down to that metric, the whole network. There's no specialty for certainty. This is what's going on. We're managing our business in a way that's sustainable for us and mutually successful. But again, these kind of dollars, you know, the way Ron broke out the example, and I do acknowledge that if there is a typo that you found, Alan, that'd be corrected. But I think you understand that means 400,000. For $500,000. Let me just say this from a company perspective. I would challenge you to go find another company that's going to give you $500,000 for a simple referral that you don't make the sale on. We have all the responsibility of the sale, of the marketing, of the messaging, of the T&E, of the travel, the entertainment, of the client, of the relationship with the client, which gets you paid in perpetuity. So these numbers can be long and they can be forever. I mean, think about a hospital network.
Yeah.
You know, and they just go on and they go on and they go on. We're doing one now that's per square foot. So per square foot, you start doing 48 hospitals, that number's in the 8 figures. You know, you start getting into per square foot of things that we do, those numbers go up enormously high. Dealing with one hospital that's 1 million square feet of one of their buildings at 16-story talls, and there's 6 other buildings plus the whole university campus, millions of square feet of one property. There's 148 other hospitals in their network. They started us with their biggest one. These numbers can get very large, not for a referral, but to be clear, not for a referral, for a closed sale. Our language is the same everywhere, every diagram, and every conversation, everywhere. It's not being paid for simple referrals.
We understand that. We don't expect anything on a referral unless the business closes. Sure. And that referral becomes a lead, becomes a customer, and becomes ultimately a commission. I want to address a couple of things if I can. If I can just get through this first, I'd really appreciate it. I was trying to say that the issue for us is not the percentage, it's that it's changed. We could have been at 4% and you decided to drop it to 3%. That's still a 25% reduction. And the part we're struggling with is we've already committed to people that 75%. And so when we drop the total to 75%, it leaves us in a lurch because we've already made commitments. We've already trained the team. Every person on our team has heard how much they're going to receive when they bring a deal. And some have already introduced business like Vegas and Microsoft and John and everything he can bring. Those are already introductions. Any contract can be changed with the 30-day notice, but that isn't retroactive. It doesn't go back and change introductions that have already been made. It can affect any future.
We have never met with any clients. To have a simple referral to a simple referral doesn't mean it's a client.
Right. Let me finish if I may. You know,
but Patrick, there is no proposal. Like the premise of your idea is off base. There's no proposals out there. There never had been. I wish we had proposals out there.
Bill, let me please finish. We have made introductions that can translate into significant business. One of the 2 biggest ones being Tony and John. Those are long-term relationships, okay, that could bring a significant amount of business. Those are long-term relationships that take time to develop. It takes time for them to get to know you, you to get to know them, for us to be trained, everything that goes with that. Okay, if Alan wanted to push the point on his 25% contract, he could say anything that comes from John, from Certainty, from Frank, from Patrick, falls under that original agreement because they're already in the picture. Now, we know that you keep saying 2 years. We had our first meeting on June 21st. So it's been 10 months for our team since we were introduced to you. Took us 2 or 3 months to figure out what you wanted to do with the NDAs. We've gone back.
When did you say you first met us?
I have on video the YouTube where we trained our team the first time was June 21st. I put out a video on our website, started reaching out to our customers, started in July of last year. So not much has happened.
Alan, can I give you a task to send me when you connected us to them, because it's longer than that?
Yeah, well, Frank is the one that signed the documents for.
I'm not talking about the document. We talked for months before that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The first email introduction, please send that to me.
Yeah, I'll go through all my emails. Yeah.
Thank you.
Regardless, that was the first time we introduced you guys to our team. They didn't know anything about Sterile Safe prior to that, other than us saying, we've got a new product line we want you to consider. And they got to meet Kevin. You were on there. And that was our introduction to the team. Over the last 10 months, about half of that, we were figuring out what we wanted us to say. And I think the direction Frank was going about a prospect and everything was that we were told you didn't want us to sell. You say that on that video, Bill, multiple times. We don't want you to be the sales team. We want you to make an introduction, a warm
That's correct.
introduction.
That has not
You
changed.
said you're not technical. We don't want you to get technical. We don't want you to try to close this. And that was fine. I wrote about this in my email, and I struggle a little bit though with where you keep saying it's a simple referral, because simple is not it's not an accurate word in my opinion. These referrals are usually based on years of relationship, years of building trust, years of developing enough rapport and trust and connection with these entities that we can get a foot in the door. Someone like Microsoft, you don't go to Bill Gates and get a meeting. You work through the levels. You get introduced. I mean, we were fairly high up with the 3 people that we met with Microsoft. They're the right department. They have the pull. We were introduced by
let me just stop you for a second, if I may.
Go ahead.
Can you see the screen, Patrick?
We can. Yep.
Okay. So we kind of go into this right here. These are the type of buildings and the type of projects that would look good for us. Airports, malls, commercial office buildings, convention centers, sporting facilities, entertainment venues, large hospitality, so on and so forth, right? So are you interested in reducing costs on your building or buildings? Are you interested in health and safety issues for reoccupation? Are you interested in how to operate your building more efficiently? Are you interested in energy audit and building efficiency audits? Are you interested in electrification initiatives? These are all
you don't
big
have to read them all, Bill.
Okay, but I'll go to the next page.
And like we said before, I'm really excited about this.
No, but let me just show you, because
wanted this.
Let me just show you, because you guys are different than talking to an Alan. And if I said, Alan, you have all these clients, let's go out and do that. It takes time to coddle them. I get that. But you guys have whole organizations of people. So you guys play the numbers game with a lot more people. And I totally think that the numbers to your organization can be enormous, even to the people we're talking about, to yourselves, to everything else. So let's just talk about that. So being able to real-time, visualization of your investment of your building. You can manage a building from any location. You could have one location that manages 224 hospitals with 4 people in one room from our networking operations center, what we call a command and control office. A lot of people are really into that today. This is a big topic. We have the software in the company that's uniquely written it and with our input. And so each one of these are really easy, Patrick. Each one of these are really easy to swallow. There's no sales in this. These are just questions that people have today. They're either standards or policies or mandates or executive orders or demands that are placed on them from the state and federal government, or they're just objectives to run their building more efficiently, or if it's an investment group to get their investors more money by decreasing operations, or if it's for health and safety standards for reoccupation, ways to get people back in the offices, or if it's for decarbonization or NZE goals. And then we come over here and do you have projects or project you're working on now? What's your timeline? and the projects are projects you have in mind. What's your working budget for your projects? If we basically knew those two questions from anybody that brought us a lead, we would say yes if those answers were filled in, because we would damn well pursue anything that had these two questions right here done. Does that make sense?
It does.
So we've never had that. No one even knew who we were, what the subject was, what we were bringing to them, what our offer was, how much it cost, were they interested, did they have a project, did they have a budget, did they have any sights set on anything we were talking about? And we walk in cold. Okay, I was at every meeting. Do you have projects or projects you're planning for the future? We can help you plan. How the lead referral works: lead referral group, sales, follow-up presentations, business development, technical engineer. That's the process. Focus on the presentation, dedicated account professional, engineering professionals. When do you want us to follow up with you? Estimated time for commencement, estimated time for the project completion. Then we write here, Sterile Safe Solutions, S3. We'll do the lead, the person's name in the company, the client's name, their title, their phone number, the client's name, the property or properties of interest, and who the referral person is. If it was Alan Lowe and he wanted to introduce us to a municipality, he would write Alan Lowe. If it were Certainty Group, which is what we proposed to you first, you'd write Certainty Group, and then you'd pay that person in your organization. The very first thing we did is we said, Alan, we're going to pay you. We're only going to pay two organizations, period. There is no other conversation that will ever happen. We're only going to pay two. So you didn't want Alan to be responsible paying for your people for all the reasons you listed. Okay. So then Ron rewrote it and just said, okay, then have it go to Certainty, and Certainty will pay everybody. If this down here said the Certainty entity groups would get paid, that's fine. If it were Patrick, fine. If it were John Santoyo, fine. Whose ever name is down here is who Sterile Safe Solutions is going to pay. You all can decide that, not us. There's nothing else to discuss. Rehashing the past. I lived through this. I'll never get the time back. I'm dumber for the time I've spent with all these emails. I'll never get the time back. But I'm still here at the table with you, showing our commitment.
As we are.
And the same, I know that. I know, I believe me, I like you, Patrick. I've told Kevin every time he talked to you, said, I really like that guy.
I appreciate that. I feel the same way.
I'm just telling you honestly, it's what I said. I didn't have a working relationship with any of you. Kevin did. Okay, so that being said, y'all like Kevin? You should. You worked with him. You didn't work with anybody else. And that would be true if you went to Johnson Controls. You'd only get one account executive. You wouldn't be talking to the CEO and their legal counsel and their chief operating officer and the president. You wouldn't speak to all of them. You'd speak to the person you spoke to. So in this very same way, you're talking to the entire organization. You have everybody's time. It's taken us months to write this stuff. It's been painstaking, gut-wrenching, a fucking waste of my time. And I could have spent it on things that have been a lot more profitable to date. And yet we're still here showing our commitment, and we haven't changed that. The only people that can change our commitment is y'all. Whose ever name gets filled out in this column right here gets the check. It can be Alan, it can be you all, it can be representative. Now, how y'all divvy that up is up to you. That's what's on the table.
That's good to hear.
Rehashing any other conversation would be rehashing 7,000 machinations of ideas and machinations of ideas and mashup of ideas that I never heard the same story twice and hybrid it every day to the point when I picked up the baton, I didn't know where I was beginning. But I hadn't been in 90% of the meetings either.
Bill, from an integrity standpoint of view, if you're going to maintain this 15, we've already had a discussion with John Santoyo, and we're basically going to release his 15 contract for him to go direct with you. He's got too much business hanging fire right now, and his reputation is at stake.
Yeah, he's spent the last 10 months priming the pump. as have we. And our concern, Bill, and has been all along that we don't want to damage any relationships, be it with you, with our clients, or our team. It's hard to do that with the team when you come back and say, sorry guys, the pay is going down. I know we committed to this, but now we have to change it.
Well, I just
John, that's
I just need
impossible.
to tell you guys what I've been told by John. He's been to my house. I've been to his offices. I've paid for meals. I've talked to him on phone calls, texts, Zoom, email, and Microsoft team meetings. He says he doesn't have a contract. And that was as of 2 weeks ago when he called me.
Well, he doesn't.
Bill,
He's waiting
he
on
doesn't.
you.
He doesn't have a contract. We've been
I-
waiting
but-
on you.
but guys, I'm just saying to you that you're telling me someone's reputation's on the line. He doesn't have a contract.
But that's because he trusts us. We promised him what he would
Well,
receive.
you trust me. I
Just as
trust
we
you.
trusted you.
I trust
You're
Alan.
not the
I trust
ones
Ron.
changing it.
I trust all of you. It's not my
Bill.
reputation on the line. The fact that we're doing business development is the fact we're doing business development. We've been working in good faith with all of your people to try and see through every one of these. We've never limited them to having you have all your contracts done with your people. We've never limited to that. We've always been there 100% with 100% vim, vigor, vice, vitality, and virility, giving 1,000%. I didn't put anybody's reputation on a line. He brought Eaterham here to my home.
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, he brought him to my home
I
And
on,
know
Bill-
on a Saturday. Okay,
Bill,
so
we actually,
I've
we
taken
actually
away, I've
issued,
taken away my nights on my anniversary, my weekends, my holidays, my nights, my mornings, my days to fulfill requests he's had. We've
Right.
pursued hours where we have to take phone calls in Southeast Asia at 2 o'clock in the morning, where we wake up to try and develop this out, only to find out these guys are full of shit.
yeah. Bill, we actually had a contract formulated to issue to John. We sent it to him. We showed it to Alan before we did. Alan will concur with that. And he did not sign it because there was no signatory line on the document from Sterile. And therein is where
He's your agent, my friend.
therein lies the impasse.
Do you
But
have
why,
this with
John?
all? Do you have this with all of your other contracts that the company you represent also has to sign, or do you have it with Certainty Group that you build a contract?
Oh, we have it with certainty, but with John, with the volume of business he can bring, the fact that he's right there, he wants to work direct with you. He's at a different level than anyone else on our team.
Patrick,
And that's why he asked for a
I
direct
spent
contract
hundreds of
with you.
hours researching, writing all these emails back to you, and I took my time out of respect to take everything line by line by line, with the exception of the last one, because you exceeded the longest email I'd ever seen in my life, and I didn't have any more patience to do it. Okay, and I appreciate the details, I really do, because it sucks to write. It takes bloody hours and hours. So I appreciate what you did. In doing this, John Santoyo to me is a very valuable guy. A. B, I like him enormously. He's a wonderful man. C, I think his integrity is exceptional. His mind is imagination, and his business within our industry is relevant because battery storage is how load shedding is going on in the energy world. So that's very big. I know he's a partner company to you guys. That's how he got involved. But the part that's absurd is when John Santoyo says to me, I don't want to pay an Alan Lowe. I don't even know what an Alan Lowe is. And I sure as shit am not going to pay some guy named Francis in Florida. That won't ever happen on my watch. All that money goes to me. And I say, I can't help you with that other than you joined an organization that does referral marketing. And if you don't like that, you can't come to me after you joined an organization that does referral marketing and say you don't like referral marketing. If you're a referral marketing agent for that referral company, and tell me that your principles are different. I can't change what I just said.
Those
Let me-
comments,
let me
those
clarify.
comments stemmed from his background as capital markets and equity, Bill. That's
Let
where
me-
that's
I know
coming
where
from.
they came
clarify.
from. Frank, I
Let me
was a
clarify
part of all of
something.
them. I
Bill,
know
let
where
me-
they came from. I'm just telling you the direct quotes. I
Let me
know who
clarify
John is.
something.
I know
First of all-
I've got a great appreciation for John. Kevin does, I do, Daryl does, and Ron does. We have a great appreciation for him. We know
First,
that.
first
have-
of all, first of
But
all,
in all the
Yeah.
time, let me finish with this. In all the time, John has never one time introduced us to a client. We always
want-
get teed up to meet a client. We always get presented to make a client. We build presentations for clients. We build all the marketing material for clients. We do hundreds of hours of research for the clients, and we've never met the client.
Because he wants the I's dotted and the T's crossed, Bill.
So do
Once
I.
on's
So do
that's
I.
done,
So do I.
you're off and
So do
running.
I. Once it's done, so
Hey,
do I.
Bill, you're cutting. Can you ask us to be respectful? I ask you to do the same. Let
But I'm
me
also, I'm saying this, Patrick, because it's circular. Okay, it's circular. We
let
keep
me
doing it.
clarify something that I think will help. Okay, we have a sales team. These are associates across the
This
country.
is
that
circular.
work
Okay,
for
when you
us.
talk about respect,
What-
this is circular.
No,
We've
let
already
me-
been here. Let's go. Can you bring up a new point? Because we've talked about
I'm
this.
trying to respond to your comment about John. Okay, just let me
We
finish.
don't
the
need to.
thing.
My point is, we all recognize who John is. Make your
Okay, but
point.
let me
This is
clarify.
new
that-
circular.
It's not circular. Let me just respond. If you give me 30 seconds, I'll have it out. We have associates across the country. They're contracted to us. They have a reseller agreement with us. John is not one of those. He doesn't work for me.
But it's
He's not
circular.
on my sales team.
I'm not here to pick apart your
He's a
business, my friend.
separate entity.
I'm not here to pick apart John. We don't know the distinction of each one of your relationships other than we're working with Certainty Group, who Alan Lowe introduced us to. That's the extent of it. The nuance and complexity of your relationships, I couldn't possibly know.
No,
You
but
could take the next 22 hours and 40-page emails to explain it to me, and it would take me more time I'll never get back.
I'm trying to explain though that every other person that we have who may bring a deal to Certainty will be sold through Certainty Global. It'll have our name on it. We will pay them. John is the one exception.
Now we're
Not
moving
even
forward.
Tony falls
now
under
we're
that.
moving forward. Now we're
John's the one exception, Bill. He's
Frank.
But
Listen,
what do we do, Bill? What do we do about the fact that we committed to him a percentage based on what we were told we were receiving from Alan, and now that
he doesn't have an
percentage is
agreement from you.
changing?
He's declared that, and you just admitted that. He doesn't have an agreement.
He has a
with you.
commitment from us.
John is a businessman. He's an exceptional businessman from what we can tell.
Okay,
But we made
can
a
I-
commitment.
can I-
We made a
can-
commitment
can you
to
get-
him.
Listen, can you guys tell me if you can? Okay, so here's what we got. Got Francis Parker in Florida. Then we have Alan. Then we have Certainty. Then we have John. And then we have whoever else is in Certainty. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're into the 5th level. Okay, so this isn't network marketing. So let's just get that clear. So what is it that you think the deal's supposed to be between and among Francis Parker, who introduced us to Alan Lowe, and Alan Lowe, who introduced us to Certainty, and whoever introduced us to John Santoyo? What's the whiteboard box
All we know is that
flow
Alan has-
chart of how you guys are all going to get paid?
we don't know Francis. We have nothing to do with Francis, but all we know is
Hold on, we do.
okay. I understand.
So,
But-
no, you have to factor that in. So there's Francis Parker, there's Alan Lowe, there's Certainty, and over here's John Santoyo, I guess. And then there's everybody else under Certainty. So tell
Certainty is
me,
one entity.
you can, what is the flow of the commission payment?
It's based on the contract Alan has. It's signed by Bill. This is 25%.
What is it?
25%.
It was 28.5% actually.
No, it wasn't. That was another deal that you
I
guys.
have it right here. I'm looking at it.
Okay. Well, send it to me because I don't have a 28.
You
The
signed
only
it.
contract I've ever seen, Ron, has Bill's name on it, Alan's name, and it says 25%. So I don't know about a 28.5. Maybe that's something that's being paid.
Our
to
agreement
Francis.
is not even fully executed, Patrick. The one that we rescinded is not even executed.
With Alan.
No, with you.
Yeah, but you guys actually, believe me, you know what? I'm a bottom line person. It's really simple here. You know what? I don't get into arguments or anything like that. The bottom line is this. I can't wait to get the 3-page thing because you know what? We all can go back through our past, but it was a work in progress. We finally got it to the point
Okay,
where
could
I
somebody,
agree.
Alan,
I agree, Ron.
Alan, before
Now
we
we
go
can
forward,
hand
I
out
need to
the
know
agree-
how everybody's getting paid. And
Well,
by the way,
you
I
agree-
looked at your agreement.
you-
It's dated May of 23 and it's 28%. And the
Okay,
reason it's
so it's-
28% is because Francis Parker was getting a cut off of you.
Right.
But so now what we need
So
to do
it's
is
28% in my agreement with them is 20% that I did that you did the contract that because
I did contract based on what the percentages were. So go ahead.
right.
So how's everybody getting paid?
Hey, I would pay them all direct. I can pay Certainty and they can pay their people.
We offered that and they said, no, they're not gonna.
No,
do it.
Certainty didn't want to see.
I don't know
That's
why
the
they
least of our
don't.
And then what
concerns,
does John
guys.
Santoyo get?
John was promised
John
15%.
wants a direct relationship with you.
I know, but what does he get
Communications,
paid?
marketing,
What does he get?
15%.
Okay, and what do we pay Alan?
Wait, you can pay me the other 18% and I can
And
pay
then
them.
what does Certainty get paid?
We get 5% over John.
Okay, so it's 15, 18, and 5, and then Francis Parker.
Yeah, and that's not
Let's add it all
cumulative. We're
up.
getting
Let's add it
paid
all
out
up.
of.
Let's
we're
add it
getting
all
paid-
up. Now we're at 40%.
No, that's not right, guys. If there's a
You just said
commitment to 28
15, 18, and 20.
It's out of theirs, though. There's no. It's not cumulative. If we get 20%, we're giving 15 to
Okay,
John.
John
keeping
Santoyo's
5.
getting what? 15?
15.
15.
Okay, who does he pay?
Five.
That's
He
his.
pays
that.
whoever his market makers are out of his 15.
Okay,
guys keep
and
talking
and
about
who pays-
50%,
And then
I-
we pay Alan, and we pay Francis Parker, and then we pay you.
I don't care if you paid it all to Alan. The only concern I had was Alan's not a young man.
No,
and
I'm asking you what you get out of a John Santoyo referral.
5%.
5%.
And what does Alan get?
Another
Whatever
5%.
his, I think he's 5, if I remember right. Aren't you, Alan?
Oh, if it was on the 25%, it would have been
It would have
five.
been 5%, correct, yeah.
5 to us and 5 to Alan and 15 to John. It's not
Where
cumulative.
where is this all written?
Alan has a
Well,
25%
I
contract with
basically-
you.
Listen, you guys cut this deal when you didn't even talk to me. So
I didn't
and-
cut. We didn't cut any deal the only deal we have is with you.
That's right. So you guys should
So
be talking.
what? So John Santoyo gets 15%.
Correct.
You get 5. Certainty gets 5,
I
and
get
Francis
5.
Parker gets 3.5.
Yeah, but Francis has nothing to do with my
So that's
contract.
28.5, and we're back to where we started. So my question is, John Santoyo's getting, and where, when you came up with the 15 for Santoyo, 15 for Allen, 15 for
It's not-
Certainty, where is that written?
It's not 15. If my contract's 28, you take 15% away, it's 13.
Yeah, they're not cumulative. It says 25%
they're not
right here
cumulative.
for commercial for referrals. This is the only agreement I've seen has Alan's signature and Bill's
No,
signature.
there's another, see, you're looking at 1022. There's an agreement from May of 23.
But that's not my signature there.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's what you sent me.
No,
That ain't
can we
me.
stop for a second? That is October of 22. There was an amendment to that agreement in May of 23.
Which
That's
went
not-
up.
That agreement is no longer in existence.
You're
Send me
saying it
that
went up
agree-
to 28.5?
The new agreement was 28%, and I'm looking right at it.
I don't know
Uh-huh.
where that signature came from me, but that's not me. I can show you.
The 28% one, that's what I'm looking at.
We can live with that, Ron. That's exactly where we're at right now.
Okay, and so this is what I'm saying to you.
8%.
You're saying you can live with the 28%, and we are saying, since we switched from more media doing business as Sterile Safe Solution and opened up an corporate entity in Nevada, and we looked at everything that was going on after October of 22 to March of 24, where 0 came in. Okay. Zero.
Again, still not trained, still waiting on an onboarding.
Still
process,
zero. Still
intake.
zero because you tell him John Santoyo's been working for years, according to you. Alan's been working for years. You guys have been working for years, and we got zero. So what we did was we looked at it and said we can't live with 28%, okay? Because not only are we living with 28%, we have a multi-level payment structure, which is basically illegal because we're not a network marketing company and we never got licensed to be a network marketing company. We're not a multi-level company.
And we're not going
So
to
what we did was we said, okay, you know what? We have to reduce it to 15, and then you guys will pay each other however the scenario goes between and among Alan, John, Certainty.
Ronald, if we do that right now, and from our integrity standpoint of view with John, handing him his 15%, because I'm not going to go away from that. Patrick and I agreed he gets what he's entitled to. He can't even operate unless he's at that percentage. And Bill, you've had the conversations with John. You know dang well he wants more points than what we handed him. Okay. But setting that aside, you just cut out Certainty Global of our company to
No,
John.
we didn't cut out anybody. We
stop
reduced
using that language,
percentage.
Frank. Come on, stop using that
Bill,
language.
we have no override. We had a
Stop.
20.
Stop using override and cut out. Just stop it.
If we have
Come on.
15%
Act like a
and we
professional.
committed to
That makes no sense.
15%,
Nobody's
Bill,
cutting
there's
anybody.
there's
We've laid
nothing
everything on the
left.
tape. We've laid everything on the table, and we've identified everything. And you say the word cut out, so stop it.
So
Alan,
what else do you want
Alan
us to
is
say?
absolutely out of the game as well.
How
He doesn't.
can we agree?
He doesn't get a dime off of
Okay.
Certainty, Bill.
Frank,
Look at
Bill, if we can,
hold on a second.
so we won't use the
I-
word cut out, but what do you want us to call it? Because
Frank,
if we
Frank,
have 15
Frank,
and
I'm
we
gonna be
pay
clear.
15, there's zero left. We're not going to reduce John.
I'm
We're not
gonna
going to
be-
cut
I'm
our
gonna-
sales team.
John,
Patrick,
wait, can I understand something? Because earlier you said John is not part of your organization.
Oh, he is.
Oh,
He's just not my employee.
We gave him a top contract, Ronald, because of the amount of business he can bring to Certainty.
He
So he
doesn't
has an
have a
agreement with
contract,
you.
guys. He
He
told
has an
me.
ag-
He's been telling me for
hasn't-
6 months he doesn't have a contract. And he told me 2
Not
weeks
from you.
ago.
He wants a contract from you. He has an agreement with us. He has a
We aren't
promise
cutting
from
another
us. We
agreement.
committed to him.
We
the
aren't
percentage
cutting
he
another
would
agreement. This
receive.
conversation's mute. It's circular. We're not cutting one. We've told you in the emails. I said in the beginning, did you read the emails? And Frank said yes.
Sure.
Okay, we are not writing another one. We are not making this multi-tier payout. There's going to be, whoever's going to get the thing will be, their name will be on the bottom of that 3-page thing. And that's who we cut the check to. We offered Alan first. You guys said you will not work with Alan. We offered you guys, and they gave examples how you could pay out the others. $75,000 to Alan, $75,000 to you, and John Santoyo keeps $300,000 for a simple referral, guys. Hey, John Santoyo's making a referral for $300,000, and he doesn't have enough to pay for his overhead.
John is not going to work for 10%, Bill.
Okay, let me do this.
That's the example you put in the email.
that's correct.
Frank,
And I haven't told him that. And
Frank.
if I did, he'd hit the roof.
Frank.
I will tell you what I did tell him. I said, it seems that Sterile is going to go hard and fast at 15%. If they maintain that position, you have a release from us to go direct.
And that leaves us, Bill, with
We aren't going to
nothing.
pursue any business that y'all have brought unless we work this out. So there we go. Okay.
we
so
need you to
stop
commit-
the cutout language. Stop the this language. Let's all go to when we say this is what somebody needs. John Santoyo needs $300,000 for a simple referral. If he'd have made
He needs 15-point contract, Bill. Let's begin there.
okay, Frank, for a second. Okay. It's ludicrous on its face to say somebody needs 15% of Delta what? It's not a vitamin pack.
Oh, but you're saying you need 85% of
It's
the
not
net
a vitamin
profits.
pack. It's a cold call lead. I'm paying 7.5% to a guy who's in the industry with 20 years experience who did $20 million in sales at Johnson Controls. He's fucking stoked.
Let's understand
John
one other thing.
Santoyo
Let me-
knows
let me-
Johnson
Frank,
Controls,
excuse me,
Bill.
Frank, let me explain one other thing.
What does that mean, Frank?
He's
What does that
getting,
mean?
Bill, please. the 15% is off the net.
We know that.
Okay?
We know that.
Okay. So if it were off the net, okay, he's not getting 300,000. He's liable to get 15,000. Okay. So we're taking, there's a 300 in the example, there's a $3 million net profit. He's getting that off the top, leaving us to split, Bill, me, Daryl, Kevin, leaving us to
85%.
split the net. So at the bottom line is John Santoyo is making more than the four of us at
How is that
15%
possible?
off the net. And you're
You're
telling me
covering-
you can't live with that?
Ron, you're covering the costs of the project before you ever add on the 30%.
That's not the cost of it's not the project. It's S3's net. It's how about our costs, our salaries, our marketing, our legal fees, our association, our corporate fees. How about everything that we have to pay if we have employees? Where does that all come from? You're not paying for that. You're getting it off the top. We're paying for that after you get paid.
Exactly. You're not paying our overhead, our salaries, our employees. You're not paying any of our costs.
And you're not paying ours.
But we're getting 15%, you're getting 85%.
No, we're getting
major costs of the
85%.
project
No,
are
you're
covered.
getting 15% of the net. We're getting 85% of the net.
So Ron's point is that individually from Ron, myself, Kevin, and Daryl, John will make more than all of us. You guys could actually be making more than all of us in that scenario.
Our salespeople make more than we do too. We pay out 60%.
That may very well be. I know that companies like Johnson Controls, they cap how much commission they make. And many companies, Train, Daikin, they cap them. So they don't let them make seven figures. Otherwise, they end up leaving the company. But, you know, hey, we don't have a cap. Everybody can make whatever they want to. I'm just saying that we've spent a period of time focusing on how can we best sell, and everybody's made their best efforts trying to sell these things. We've made the meetings, we've made the times, we've built the presentations, we've done the research, we've done all the prelim, the logistics. Nobody's held back from trying to make a sale. Everybody's trying to make a sale. Nobody's held back. So the amount of money that someone needs.
Let me make one more point, Bill, because I know you'll talk all night. If somebody had brought in, if Alan had brought in a major client, okay, in 2023, for example, and that client produced a multi-million-dollar contract, and we said in January of 2024, we're going to change the agreement. Alan would have been paid under the original contract of whatever that percentage was. Nobody was getting cheated out of what they did if they had actually brought in business before we decided we needed to make the change on the percentages. So the reason we looked at it in the big scale of things from 30,000 feet, we looked at it and said, and I asked everybody as counsel, did anybody bring in any business that we're waiting for and we're going to get paid on, and the deal is done, we're just waiting to get paid? Because we have to make sure those guys or whoever that was gets paid the percentage that they thought they were going to get under an agreement that was executed, dated, and signed. Okay. The answer was no. Nobody ever brought anything in. I said, okay, then. In January of 2024, we revamp it, we look at it, we make new changes moving into phase 3, and we say, okay, we're going to move in now. 15% is going to be the net that anybody gets that they would get. So now you guys are saying, no, you want 28.5% has to go out. And by the way, just so we're clear, when John Santoyo gets his 15, we still have to pay Alan, we still have to pay Francis Parker, and we're supposed to pay you. So now we're a multi-level network marketing business again. It doesn't.
Every sales
do this.
organization, Ron, every sales organization has multiple tiers. You have the senior VP of sales, the VP of sales. The
No.
sales,
Come,
the
stop
sales
it. That's an
manager, the
employee
sales-
business. Stop.
I'm just
Listen, I've
saying
been doing
there's-
this for 40 years.
there's
I've
multiple
worked for
levels to
businesses.
any
I've
organization.
been in-house counsel at corporations. Don't tell me that the president of the company, the VP of sales, the supervisor of sales, and then the salesperson is a network marketing multi-level payment plan. Please.
I'm saying they just
They're
have
employees.
there's
My
multiple
wife
people
works
that
for
are paid.
Hermes. She works on commission and salary. Do you really think she's a multi-level salesperson?
You know, Bill, there's another side to this with John, which you mentioned about 45 minutes ago with his energy company that he owns. And you've had several conversations with him on this, right?
John Santoro could get 15%.
Did he ever explain to you how that relationship would probably manifest? You go in and you cut ROI.
He isn't ready for sales yet.
I understand that, but
The-
you go
the-
because he's embroiled in a lawsuit.
I'm going to answer your question. No, he didn't, because his business is not ready. That's why he's so excited about Sterile Safe.
Correct. He is embroiled, unfortunately, in a lawsuit due to a death of an owner.
But he can't, because the actual technology for recycling those batteries, which is a really neat idea, hasn't really flourished out yet. So he's talking to municipalities, and he's talking to Indian tribes, and he's talking to people, but he can't deliver the product yet. I think it's a wonderful idea in the future. I think it's huge, actually, because load shedding is going to be the thing to do.
Well, do you know how he explained it?
But he's never offered an offer to us.
This is where I assure you it will be coming. This is where he explained to me the value of a JV or some type of connection between your two enterprises. He said Sterile goes in and cuts the ROI by 30%, correct?
We don't know about a percentage. Every building would be different.
Roughly, that's the number you were using. You putting ROI.
We don't know the number.
The costs, Frank.
I'm sorry, the cost. Okay. John keyed off of that and said, yeah, and I come along and eliminate it altogether.
Well, so the definition of net zero is to pursue lowering net zero emissions. And there's 4 categories of net zero emissions, so you could define it 4 different ways.
Yeah, my illustration there.
The point is his product will allow, the biggest part of his product is, if it's solar capture, you can storage it. But where it's really utilized today is you can buy power in off-peak and use it in on-peak. And the utility companies want to do that now. That's why these battery walls are so big.
Yeah.
Because during the middle of the day, the power companies can't generate enough power. So they go to these battery reserves and unleash them into the local grid. And so what his idea is being able to take batteries that would go into landfill, reuse them infinitely. And that is amazing, because that's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, the joke in the company is that you want to set their battery on fire, put it in the back seat of a Tesla. I mean, the bottom line here, though, is that there is definitely a relationship in the future here, Bill. So I want you to take that into consideration.
Can we get back on track?
Yeah, but that's
guys?
a separate issue, Frank.
Yeah, let's deal with that later. You're
That's a
right,
separate
and he's
issue.
right, Bill, but let's focus on breast tax. We've told you we committed to John to pay him the 15% that we understood we had to give, and we intend to continue. Our question for you is, will you honor any additional? So we're making something on John's business. If he brings a lot, which we think he will, a small percentage of that could be significant. We know that.
Wait, can I just ask you a question?
We're not going to change. My point is, we're not going to change John's.
Yeah, I understand that.
What we
I just have to ask you a question. When you said you are going to pay John.
No, you are. That's what we were negotiating.
What did Patrick just say? I didn't understand.
So we committed.
He didn't mean that.
You committed to John.
Yes.
We thought we had 20%. That's what Alan committed to us. We have an MOU to that effect based on his contract for 25. So if John made us sell for 15, that left us 5% extra, and it left 5% for Alan. They're not cumulative. You guys start talking 40 and 50%. I don't know where that that math doesn't add up.
We made a volume deal, Ron. John can bring a ton of business. I mean, the last conversation I had with him, he's got the Seminoles breathing down his neck right now of all the tribes east of the Mississippi.
Right.
But
And
we,
he's gonna put us in touch with the CEO?
He's going to put you in touch with the tribal council, Ron.
Okay.
Those are the guys
Yeah.
that make the decision.
and guys, we can't control if someone buys or not. All we can do is make an introduction. I mean, we introduced you to Microsoft. They haven't bought yet. It didn't go through yet.
They
Doesn't
turned
mean
it
it's
down.
dead.
It's not that it didn't, they said
Yeah,
no.
but we did our job. My point, Ron, is we did our job. We got you a meeting. I have an email
You
from
didn't,
Bill.
no. You did a cold call to a
It wasn't a
certain
cold
level
call.
within the company and said no.
It wasn't a cold call. It was a warm relationship introduction.
And it didn't go anywhere.
But we still did our job. We
No,
got the meeting.
okay. That's
have an
why
email
we
from
have,
Bill saying that was the
no, I
June
appreciate that. Look,
Ron, in
I do
25
appreciate
years,
that.
if
What
I
I'm
had all
saying
the ones
is,
that didn't go anywhere,
We
I
weren't
wouldn't be
supposed to
sitting
get
here right now.
anything on
that's
it,
why
but
we
if
have
it
the form. That's
closed,
why we now have the form. Okay, because
I
that,
understand. And if
with
we
that,
had the
that would
form,
then cut out
that's beneficial.
Yeah,
All
you're
we're
giving us a
saying is-
track to run on, which we didn't have.
all we're saying is we introduced John. He could bring a great deal of business, and I think we should get compensated somehow.
Can I say
doing
something,
so.
Patrick?
no, you
I
would.
don't think that's an
Okay,
unreasonable
you would be
request.
compensated. You have to understand something, fellas. And I'm trying to. I'm just trying to explain. When you talk about the 25%, okay, that you guys are going to whack up 15 there, 5. We
Yeah.
still have Francis Parker, who introduced
That
us
is
to
another
Alan.
3.5.
So
We don't
now-
know who that is.
I know you don't care who it is,
No.
okay, but we have to pay him. Okay, so it's not 25%.
Not if. Yeah, understood.
But
Okay.
let me, can I
Okay,
just,
and Bill,
that's
let me
all.
finish. So what I'm saying to you is, okay, you guys think 15% is way too low, and John's
No, we don't.
Toyo's not going to go for it. Okay, I get this. Okay, you made your point. John Santoyo is not going to take less than 15%.
Nope.
Okay, so, and according to you, he's sitting at home now, and in his garage,
Waiting for a
from
contract.
floor to ceiling, he has $1,000 bills that he's just
Waiting
gonna
for a
give us.
contract.
He's just going to give to us, and then we're all going to split it, and then when we're all done with the first deal that John Santoyo brings us, we're all going to retire.
I wouldn't say we're all
Which
going
is
to
very,
retire.
which is very exciting because I really want to do that. What I'm saying to you is, we're going to have to work out right now, and Bill, stay out of it. We're going to have to work out right now on this phone call. Okay, if you guys want to work this out, we are not paying 28.5%, which is going to include Francis Barker, Alan Lowe, you guys, and John Santoyo. Now, if you want to break this back down, and you guys are stuck at 15, okay. If you want to somehow, we're going to negotiate and go to say 20%, and you guys can whack it up. We're not going back up to 28.5. We're not doing that. Okay, we're trying, and understand something, because you guys are not understanding this. You're getting the money off the top. We're paying ourselves after all the expenses are paid, net, which means literally John Santoyo will make more money than the four of us who are the officers of the company. Okay, so
Yeah.
put that in perspective,
Yeah.
which is why we reduced it from 28.5% down to 15, because when we looked at it, it didn't make any sense. Not to you guys, it didn't make any sense to us when we did our accounting and looked at it and said, wait a minute, these guys are getting 1/3 of the business, and we're splitting 4 ways the net after we pay all our expenses, which, by the way, could literally almost zero out, okay, before we even get paid. Okay, so the point of this is, if you guys want to negotiate something, and I've been doing this for a long fucking time, okay, because this is what I do. I negotiate, and I've negotiated deals in 34 different countries, and I've been in front of judges trying to negotiate deals. When the judge says, Ron, what do you want? And I tell him, and he says, okay, now what do you need? Okay, so what I want to hear from you guys is, what is the compromise here from 28.5% off of the 15? If you want to go to 20, I'm willing to accept that. But we are not going back up beyond that, ever.
Is Francis hard and fast, Ronald?
Francis has reduced himself, just so you're clear.
By more than 50%.
He has reduced himself from 15 down to 3.5 because we told him we have all these other guys. We have Allen. We have Certainty. We had Santoyo. Who's this other guy? Al Davies. Who there's another
Art
guy.
Davies.
Art Davies. There's
But
all
it's
these
not a
people.
part of Certainty.
And we said to Francis, we can't give you the override. He reduced originally to 7.5, and then we got him down to 3.5. And you guys won't move a fucking inch.
Well, I'll
So
tell you.
now let's talk
not-
Turkey. Let's talk what we really can do to put a deal together. Because by the way, if you guys bring in one fucking deal, and I'm talking about Santoyo or Allen or you guys, whoever you have in your network, and I'm sure they're all professionals. If you guys bring in one deal, okay, we can buy a plane and take a trip around the world. So let's put together a negotiated, fair, and reasonable percentage of a deal.
Just don't buy it from Ken Copeland, all right? Go
Okay.
ahead.
And we're not buying it from Boeing, that's for sure. So go ahead.
Well, if we have a
Easy.
28%, I'd just go to 25. And you know what? That guy, it was one phone call and he didn't even know me and never talked to me ever again.
I still have to pay him, Alan.
I know. Well, that was a mistake on your part doing that. And
He introduced us to you. What are we going to
to?
cheat him?
I'm not going to make less than him. And he was not even the guy that introduced me to him. My friend Michael Saletti says, oh, if anybody is connected in the world,
I know, Alan, please. We have to pay Francis because we got you.
Yeah.
Those guys have
him.
never talked to me again.
I know, Alan, but that's.
I know,
he's
but
already-
I worked. I know that's your deal.
He's
that you
in the
have.
tree.
It's
He's
not
in the.
my
There's a
deal.
tree. He's in it.
Yeah, he's stuck.
Okay, well, he's stuck in the tree.
He's at
So-
he's the top box. Then you're the next box. Then Sturdy's the next box. And Toyo's over here, and there's whoever else is under there. Okay.
Ron,
Well, we know John is hard and fast at 15, so let's begin there, Ron.
let me say something, guys.
You know, you guys
We wouldn't be here without this Francis fellow and Alan, and we're grateful to them for that. If you can't go lower than 3.5 with him, what if you stay?
They had a contract with him. You guys don't understand how this deal was put together. So he's not in part of my contract. He was a contract that they went out and did. I have a contract that has.
Okay, Alan, stop. Alan, he has an override off of you. That's it. Stop. That's it. It's in there. It's in cement.
Well, he's gonna make a nice piece of change off of all this.
We're doing nothing.
Exactly. And by the way, when John Santoyo brings in a multi-million-dollar deal, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Well, how many?
We're blaming Francis Parker for making
guy-
money for making a referral. You're giving us Santoyo. You guys are sitting back and saying, "Hey, John, go to it." And
No,
we're
Ron,
trying-
Ron,
and
that's
by-
Ron.
by the way,
That's not
let's
true.
get realistic. You guys are cold callers, salespeople. If you want to
No,
make a
we're
sale, you want
not.
a percentage of
I
the
tell you what,
commission.
I'm gonna call
Let's
you
work
tomorrow.
out the
Bye.
commission. We
Wait a minute,
need
wait a
to
minute.
work out
Ron.
the commission.
Ron, Bill has witness to this because we got him on video of training our sales team months ago. You remember that, right, Bill? So we have other players out there that are marketing Sterile Safe within the Certainty group, not just John.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, you
remember a
read my-
training call,
you
Frank.
read my email.
My
Okay,
point
it's 8
is,
o'clock at night here, fellas. So here's the thing. It's 8 o'clock here where I live. Okay, so let's come to we're going to either think about it overnight, or you guys are going to negotiate now. But we're not doing the 28.5, the 25. We're not doing it. So you guys can walk
What I would
away,
propose is this.
and we'll all
Ron,
shake hands,
let
and
me
it'll
just
be
make a
and
proposal.
it'll be nice knowing you, and that's it.
Let me make a proposal.
Go ahead.
You can't reduce Ron. I would say you match what you're paying Alan, what you're paying to Ron, so he's not making any less than that. That's 7%. And
Who's getting 7?
if you pay 3.5
You
to
said
Ron,
Ron. Yeah, I don't think you
and
meant
you
Ron.
reduce Alan to 3.5,
Staying together.
that's 7% total. Yeah, and then you pay Frank and I 3%. We come down by 2, so we're at 3% instead of 5. At least then we're making something on John's business and Tony's business and the others that we'll bring. Gives us a little bit of margin. We understand that 1%, is could be significant if they bring the type of business we believe they can.
I'm the other 50%
saying
of
I'm
certainty,
willing-
Ron. I'll agree to that.
So
I'm
you're talking
willing
about
to
25%.
try to meet you in the middle and give up 2%.
But it's 20.
Alan
you're
gives
talking
up
about 25.
1.5. It sounds like Francis has
Patrick,
given up some.
It adds
At
up
least
to
it's at
25.
25
Are you
total.
saying it adds up to 25?
Yeah.
Total.
Can I just make one quick point
Sure.
that I think we're making headway. We've wanted to continue working with you guys. We quite like you. We've never found a problem with you.
Thank you.
This idea of, and listen to me before you speak, Frank. John Santoyo needing 15%, which is making more than everybody here, is silly because John Santoyo is acting like another certainty. He's acting like a brokerage agency. There are no clients to him. He's bringing other people, because I've been on 20 of the meetings with him multiple times of all these people he's talking about. So you're a certainty group, he's a certainty group, and they're going to go find something. And the person, Kevin, who used to be the deputy mayor, is going to go find someone who's going to go find someone. Now, I'm telling you that because we're trying to get in this one scenario, which is an actual, we're trying to get to Newsom in California because he has, just as an example, he has that $48 billion budget to make every California building LEED gold. Well, if they took our model, we could do it for that kind of fee. They'll never be able to do it. They'll have to raise another 48 billion. So I'm not certain, Frank, and I want to say, let's walk away tonight as friends and believe that there's business we can all do together. And let's just think about this, because John Santoyo's one man. He's got a co-share office, not a lot of overhead, very smart, very efficient, very connected. He's got his USC network, which I've gotten to meet many of the people he's talking about, me directly on the meetings, because I'm building all the presentations, every one of them. So I know every bit of this, every bit of the research I have done personally, and I made the presentations.
You know, he knows the new state senator too, right? Personally?
No, but
I'm sorry, the United States senator.
Alex Padilla, they're good
I am
friends.
going to Sacramento on the 17th to meet with 25 senators, congressmen, and assembly members for Advocacy Day. So I'm going to be face to face with 25 senators, congressmen, and senators and
Cool.
assembly members. So that's all cool. But what I'm saying to you is we keep valuing John Santoyo less than we're all valuing ourselves in this value chain. I don't know why John's streamlined business that has less overhead than all of us needs to make more than all of us. Can we just think about that and walk away with that? Today's a totally productive day. I feel
I
that.
can understand what you're saying, Bill, but I know he's hard and fast on that figure. I know he's
Okay,
also hard. He's
Frank-
hard and fast on dealing with you direct.
Frank, what if I was hard and fast and this conversation was over before it began?
We'd go focus on our other projects, Bill.
Okay, well, I mean,
We
that's
want to
fine.
work with you, but we don't
No,
need
but no,
to.
I'm just saying,
right?
I'm saying to you out of respect, if you say that we need to respect somebody else more than ourselves and our opinions don't count, but he's not even at the table here and his opinion has more value than all of us.
Well, he wouldn't be at the table, Bill.
Everybody is got the same offer. Like if Alan
Yeah.
goes out, I'm
Yeah.
going to give you one closing example. If Alan goes out and brings the 14 hospitals he talked to me about, he'll get 15% directly from that contact he was referring to. If he brought in that municipality and they spent tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, he'd get 15%.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with
We're
what.
not being unfair to anybody, guys.
No, we have nothing to do. We have nothing to do with what
Listen,
Alan does.
Frank, I'm giving you an example so you don't feel You keep personalizing this like we're going after you guys or John or anybody. We're making the
Frank,
same deal for everybody,
Yeah,
guys.
Bill, I have a relationship with John going back 25 years, and when he was my CEO at the equity group I was with for 4 years. I know John like the back of my hand. He's not going to move off 15. That's the reason why we gave him that
Okay,
senior contract and gave him that direct relationship.
He
We're
doesn't
not,
have a
we're
contract
not
with
talking
you.
about changing his
Frank,
contract.
be clear. Be
That's
clear.
the-
He
That's the
does
one
not
piece
have
in
a
this that's not
contract
even
with you.
changing.
Patrick,
He would have.
he does
if we-
not have a contract with you. So stop making these absurd claims.
Well, Bill, I value relationship more than paper, okay?
Well,
Yeah,
I-
we have.
I do too.
Let's go back to where let's. We agree with you. John's getting the biggest piece. We believe he's worth it. It's what he's been promised. That's what he's expecting, and we're not asking him to change it. You're willing to pay him 15%. If I'm understanding you correctly, Bill, if one of us brings a job, a direct job, personally, if Alan bought a job, you should pay him 15% on that job, not 25.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No, I'm proposing this. I'm saying.
I'm saying to you, I'm the CEO of this company. I'm saying to you, there will be one name on the bottom of the page, and that's who gets paid.
Yeah.
That's all for tonight, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay. And if John sells a job, though, we're
I'll tell you
asking that we
what I'd like you to
receive
do,
an
Patrick.
override.
Please write another email and tell me what you guys walk away from today's conversation. And I suggest that you talk to Alan Lowe and you work it out. I'll call Alan tomorrow myself. We'll talk to him. We've got a very open, transparent relationship.
I just need to ask.
I would like to say one thing, Ron.
I
I very much appreciate your insight at the end. That was very classy. Thank you.
I just want to ask a question, Frank and Patrick. So are we, S3, are we allowed to talk to John Santoyo, or you guys are his?
You will have a direct relationship with John once that contract is signed. Yes.
Okay, I didn't ask you that, Frank. I'm asking you, can we go talk to John Santoyo about his contract?
Wouldn't be any reason. No, I would say that would be a negative. What do you think, Patrick?
No,
I'm fine
that's
with
not the
that.
question.
We've said
I'm
that from the
asking you,
beginning.
you guys have a okay. This is
We're
like
okay with that.
Attorney-client privilege. You can't talk to my clients directly, okay? So
I would say you bring a bottle of Excedrin with you, but anyway, go ahead.
Can we have a direct contract? Can we have a direct communication with John Santoyo?
Yeah.
Where we talk to John Santoyo without you?
Yeah. Just don't disclose anything that happened here.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Attorney-client privilege, right?
That's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
Okay.
All we ask is that you don't forget us, Bill. You say you don't want us to use the word cut out, but we brought you John. Whatever he brings, we'd like to make something on top of it.
Patrick,
You guys can
Patrick,
talk
you are
about
going to make
that.
something.
Patrick, I need you to stop that. We have fully in every transmission with you written down the fact that nobody will. We even articulate each one of your names and players and organizations. So stop it. Please stop.
What?
It will end our relationship if you keep.
You guys are.
No,
are
I'm making the
laughing.
fucking point. It's going to end our fucking relationship if you keep doing that. We've never done it.
Bill, I eliminated that word about 20 minutes ago.
I know Patrick just brought it back again.
No,
It's
I
gotta
said you
stop.
don't want us to use
question
that
our
word, so
integrity.
I'm not using it.
Don't question our
I wouldn't-
integrity.
I just
It's
brought it
written.
up saying
It's
we're not
written.
using that word.
We are
It's
trying.
written.
We are
It's written,
trying to
Patrick.
include. We are trying to include everybody, and that's why I brought up Francis Parker, because you guys poo-pooed it, but I'm trying to tell you we are honoring our agreement with Francis Parker. Okay, we're trying to honor our agreements with you going up the chain with overrides. We're trying.
Yeah, the problem we've got
Oh,
here
yes.
is that the top guy probably you're ever going to run into, John Santoyo, government, business, commercial. You ought to see what he's got in the wings, Bill, which I can't even tell you. Okay.
That's why we want.
We got two ends of this deal right now. You're in impasse on your side with Francis. I'm on an impasse on my side with John.
No,
So somewhere, Ron, we got to meet in the middle.
That's not true, Frank. Francis 100% understood this. He went from 15% to 3.5%.
That's fine.
No,
I didn't even know who he was. I'm
So
just
what
saying,
if
you're
we-
telling me you can't change that number.
Listen, he was never at 15%. He was at 7.5%. That's
That
what
doesn't
he-
make sense, Frank. What do you mean I can't change the number? I just said it went from 15 to 3, and you said I can't change the number. I personally changed the number.
3.5 actually, but putting that aside.
3.5.
Let's
I
do
personally
this.
changed the number.
Bill,
So what
I-
you're saying is ridiculous on its face.
Okay,
Bill,
let's,
I
Bill,
I
let's-
just made a proposal that we try to meet in the middle. If you honor a 3% override to Frank and me, if we bring the deal, we'll make 15. If John brings it, we make an extra 3. Alan, if you're willing to come down, you make 3.5. You make more than both me and Frank combined. And you're making the equal amount to Francis. Then we're
Okay,
making something
Let's leave
on
it
Tony and
tomorrow. We'll get this in writing tomorrow. We'll get it all
so you
worked.
guys.
That would,
so-
that would, be
just so
that
I'm-
would be agreeable to us, Bill.
I say just what Alan said. Write it down, the 4 of you, and let's talk about it tomorrow. I totally agree.
I've had enough already.
Bill, go have yourself a nice dinner. Ron, my dad worked in Pennsylvania for 33 years of his life, USDA. You remember REA and the co-ops and Smiling Electrical Plugs? That was my father out of Washington.
Oh, really? That's good. Where did he work out of Pennsylvania?
He worked out of Harrisburg.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and then he worked out of a farm. Jimmy Cook owned a farm outside of Harrisburg. And that's where the base of operations was.
Yeah, it's the
But
capital.
I was born in DC. I was raised in Arlington. I'm a government brat. Okay. There's a hell of a lot of difference between an Eastern mindset and a Western mindset. And I know you know that.
Yes, that's why we talk faster than everybody.
Thank you.
That's
Alan,
right.
Alan, I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm going to call you.
Okay.
I'm going to call you my morning and just recap tonight. But I
Okay.
think that the 4 of you need to write something down on paper.
There's actually 3 of them.
Well, I was
Yeah.
including Alan because
Yeah.
there's a formula with a fee that has got to be everybody. And I think we just need to strike this override language. There's no override. There's all
Right.
these people that are going to be beneficiaries to this amount
You're
of money.
paying a company for
So
generating sales.
there's Francis, there's Alan, there's Certainty, there's John, there's someone John has, somebody else John knows, and potentially a client of which there's hundreds of millions of dollars out here.
But keep
Let's
in
figure
mind,
out how to
John's
do that.
divvying up his 15%. There's nothing beyond that, Bill. If he has to give away 10 to get the deal, he'll do it.
I've met many of the people he's talking about, Frank. So I'm
Yeah.
familiar with the actual people he's referring to, and
Yep.
they have people they know. So I know that it goes from John in 3 cases, from John to Kevin to the
Sure.
assembly member
Yeah.
to somebody. And there's 3 other examples like John to somebody to the client. So
Yep.
we've never been past John. And in 2 cases, 2 people he knows, but neither of them were clients. They had people
Yeah.
who they had, and it's in this USC network. So I know intimately well.
Oh,
He
yeah.
calls me.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's lock in John Santoyo and then the people that I'm looking at on this screen.
Right.
And then we'll go forward and we'll put together an agreement and
Good
listen,
deal.
just so we're clear, for about 20 years, I used to talk to jurors and they had to sit there and listen to me. They couldn't leave because I noticed Ellen keeps getting up to go get something to eat. The jurors couldn't do that.
Right.
But,
That's a great job.
And I can still listen to you. And the nice thing about Zooms.
So what we want to do, we do want to lock this in. We want to lock it up. So if John Santoyo is at 15 and we're all banging our heads off at 15, it's not going to move, then we're going to have to figure something out. But let's figure it out, okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
I can future this a little bit, gentlemen. One of these days, we're all going to be tipping a cocktail at the Capitol Grill at the base of the United States Capitol. Mark my words.
Oh, that's a 2-hour drive for me, so I'll see you there.
You got it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, gentlemen.
Have a
Okay.
great night.
Thanks, Bill.